Welcome to this edition of the $1 Million Mastermind podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. I'm here talking with Feras Alhlou. And Feras, welcome.
Thank you, Larry. Glad to be on your show.
And, I'm excited to talk to you because you get to do what a lot of people think they would like to do, and that is develop and grow companies and then sell them and do it again and again and work with companies that are on the way up. And that just sounds like such a fun thing to do. And we'll get into that. But where are you located today?
I am in San Jose, California, in Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley. And so what does that mean when you're in how long have you been in Silicon Valley? What's that like being in that universe?
It's been fun. It's been an amazing ride. We moved out here in 1998. We used to live in Florida, on Central Florida in the Tampa Bay area. And then I moved with the company. Then I joined a startup and got into this whole entrepreneurial aspect of things. So yeah, it's been over 25 years.
Wow. And, you've seen a lot of things. I know that you've got a lot of credits being on boards and things like that. But we'll talk about some of the recognition later. But when you were starting out, where do you think you got the idea of, a career path like this? Did you just kind of come up through the ladder and find the doors that were open and pursue that? Or was this, because, you started, your degrees were engineering and others. And so what was in your mind growing up as what would be a fun life for you to do?
I started technical, as you mentioned, as a hardware design engineer for home shopping network way back then. And after a couple of years, that just wasn't clicking. I was doing okay. There was a major layoff that we experienced at the company, about 50% of the staff. And I was saved at that time. I wasn't impacted. I just thought that it could be me the next time if I'm not excelling at what I'm doing, if I'm not going above and beyond. So I mustered all the courage I had and walked into the CEO's office and said, "Hey, Russ, I'm doing okay, but is there something else I can do around sales, marketing, project management?" And he was very gracious about it. And he said, "Yes, we have an opportunity for you, and you have to learn and work hard and all the good stuff." And from that point on, that was a turning moment in, I think, my career. I got into something that I had more skills for, something I liked, and I started to work really hard because I enjoyed what I was doing. And I started to get promoted all the way to manager, director, then VP level. And that's when I moved with the company to the Silicon Valley area in 1998.
What were those changes? What were those changes that you found that you were more suited for and as a result did better at?
When you go to college, I think, I don't know I don't remember where I heard this, but college prepares you for your sixth job, they say. So
really?
I got into electrical engineering, which is a difficult area to get in. And I almost got a master's in that, which we can talk about it later. And I was doing okay. I wasn't feeling circuits and capacitors and developing boards and designing boards. Again, not to take anything away from people who do this. It's amazing. I was more of I wanted to have more interactions with people. I like to kind of get a project, plan it out, execute it, deliver it, complete it, see the results. So those were some of the motivators. That was some of the motivation, is to be interacting with people more and to see a project, sort of plan it, execute it, implement it, see that feedback, that success feedback, where in the hardware design business, it could be like a year and a half before you see your product out the door.
Yeah, and that points out the thing to get into big companies, to get in the world. A lot of times, the technical degrees and skills are a ticket in, but to progress and climb the charts, the people skills wind up being the ticket that allows you to elevate yourself. Is that what you found?
Yeah, yeah, of course. And I did actually. I tried to finish a master's in electrical engineering. I finished all the coursework. I just didn't have the discipline to do the thesis on my own. So that wasn't going anywhere. So I ended up doing a master's in Florida, and I got a master's in engineering management. So that was closer to like what we call an MBA today.
Yeah,
and I love that stuff. I love the material, this aspect of motivation and understanding people, all the soft skills, how to be an effective leader, how to listen to others. I mean, they don't teach you these things in engineering school, and that just resonated with me a whole lot more. And again, it was that shift in my position, in my role, closer to sales and marketing, and then getting the degree where you learn the theories of management. I think that really helped me excel and start to get onto that ladder, as you said.
Industrial management was your graduate degree, right?
Yes.
And I was at Georgia Tech, and we call that IM. And when it came time for me to, when I realized that I didn't have the patience to stick out a full-on architecture degree, and I went into the office there, the counseling office, to say, what's the fastest way out of Georgia Tech? And they said, industrial management. And I said, put me on the list. They said, sorry, there's a waiting list.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's how I wound up in building construction. But that I don't know if that was a very good course they taught at Georgia Tech, because I never got in the door. It sounds like you thought there was some pretty good value that they taught you in your industrial management there in South Florida.
And at least at USF at the time, it was actually a degree where the School of Management, to my recollection, and engineering school, they coordinated on this, or they cooperated on this. So there's a lot of the courses were on, not just on operational management and statistics, but also on the management side of things. And these are the courses that I just enjoyed and I excelled at, which I had no prior training or no prior education in. Again, just management, leadership, understanding behavior, that different theories of management and leading people. That, to me, that was, oh my God, there's stuff I can learn, apply, so conflict resolution, all those things really equip me to I think be an effective manager. And
now, why would you, I'm curious about this, because how did you find, a lot of people learn these lessons actually by starting a business, and they're forced to deal with these things in a real world setting without any training. But how did they go about presenting this to you and getting you trained in it where it was adaptable into the real world? And how did you find that you had a knack for this? Where did that show up? Like if it's mathematics or if it's history, so much of general education is just being able to remember what they told you in class, find out what's important to the professor, whatever the professor says, write that down, remember that because that's going to be on the test. And it's just a matter of canning information and spewing it back on the test. How did you find out in this particular arena you had a knack for it that went above and beyond just being a good student?
I'm so I'll give you some background. So I did my master's while I was working full time. I had a young family, my wife and 3 children, and I was
wow.
And we took courses. And the internet wasn't a big thing at the time. I'm maybe dating myself now, but actually, I took one course a semester, so it took me 3 years, I think, to finish the master, 3.5 years.
Right.
But I was learning something when they talked about conflict resolution, and by that time, I had, I think, become a manager, at least a project manager. So, and there are always issues at work. People don't agree on deadlines. They don't agree on deliverables. And I was able to take what was taught like yesterday, take it and apply it to work. I just found that fascinating. And I think the more this concept of just in time training. So I was learning this stuff about management and leadership and listening to others and communication skills, and then applying it right away to the team I was working with. That reinforced what I was learning. And I saw the result that, if I listen carefully and see what the issue is. And maybe people are having issues at home, and that's why it's manifesting their behavior at work. Like there's more to it than, it's not, it's not chips and wires and capacitors anymore. It's people. So that learning and applying, to me, it just resonated really well. And it's kind of, success breeds success. So the more I got of that, I started to read books about it. There wasn't audiobooks at the time. So I just immersed myself in learning about management and apply what I learned to my day-to-day practice.
You bring up a good point, as because we have young people listen to the podcast. And one thing for people who want, feel more comfortable getting more academic training in these areas, one lesson they could get from this is a smart way of going through it after you get your basic degree done is to get a job and to take time taking the courses where you can apply some of this stuff at work, get yourself in a position where you can use some of the stuff on the job training. And that way you can integrate it right off the bat. That's one thing that I'm hearing from this that kind of prepared you, because you've had a lot of success since you got through that stage. And, solid, the bigger and better the foundation, the better the building you can build on top of it. And so you've had amazing success, and that has to be related, don't you believe?
Absolutely. You built, so when we started our first business, and I tell this to entrepreneurs all the time, and on the average, I'm speaking to 1 or 2 entrepreneurs every week. Most of it is, I don't charge for this. I've been doing this for over 10, 12 years now. I'm just my way of saying thank you to all of those who have helped me along the way, right?
Yeah.
Just like you said, this is how we give back.
For those of you who are sick and tired of fooling around and are dead serious about wanting to move up fast, I've got something especially for you. I've combined the best insights from over 40 years in business and making $70 million in income and compressed them into a free webinar. That's right, it's a free resource. If you want to find out exactly what the concepts are that I use in coaching $1 million earners, register now at weidelonwinning.com. You'll discover the 5-part framework used by so many to reach their financial, personal, and professional goals. You can find that link in this episode's show notes.
To me, you learn things in school, and then you go and work 3, 4, 5 years for the younger crowd there. You have something to offer. So if you want to start a business, it's actually the skills that you have, hard skills and soft skills, whether you learned in school, whether you learned at work, whether you've done your own you've gotten the certifications. But when you start a company, especially in the services and consulting space, which I focus on a lot, it's what you have built over the years, and it's the skills that you have and the passion that you have and the experience and the expertise. This is a combination of again, you're learning from your past experiences and obviously from the experience of others. So it is essential for you to build a company. If you're building a company without that foundation, you're going to struggle a lot, and you're going to be learning a lot, on during maybe a very difficult time of starting a business.
Well, let's get into some of those stories, because you're regarded on LinkedIn as one of the top entrepreneurial voices. And, having built and sold many companies in Silicon Valley, you've got a great reservoir of experience. And you're one of the top 5 finalists in the most influential digital analytics agency. And, you just got a lot of success in the business world. When did you moved out to Silicon Valley because you were doing well with the company? What were you doing that was so good and so helpful for this company where they decided to move you on out to Silicon Valley?
Yeah. So, sometimes they say, what's that saying? Luck comes to the prepared, right? So I was the director level at the time in Florida. And then the director who was running the Silicon Valley office had decided to move on. So this opportunity presented itself, and I'm saying, okay, I'm in Florida. We have hurricanes here. I know when the hurricanes are coming, but in California, they have earthquakes. I don't want to be there. Yeah. So it was never on our plan as a family to move out to California. So the company was very gracious about it. Said, why don't you go check it out? Go, go once a week for a few, for a couple of months, get the family out there, see if you like it. So then we decided to move on, and the kids at the time were young, so it was easier, to just pack and
Right.
move on. But yeah, it was, I was doing well there. I had gotten the promotions and I was working hard, and the opportunity presented itself. And then sometimes you just have to take the leap, whether within a company, if there's an opportunity for a promotion, so raise your hand and put the time, to do what it takes. Or if you want to start a business, you just have some time to take some risk and say, although you might not be 100% confident that you can do the job, but you got to take that leap and work hard. And I think then you can increase your chances of success.
Well, and from that, you went out into starting companies of your own and go independent, right? Now, when I talk to entrepreneurs, I talk to successful people, they usually look back on the road they had to, the top of their world as like they had to overcome many mountains.
Absolutely.
Of setbacks and obstacles. What kind of obstacles and what do you remember as the biggest roadblocks and obstacles you had to overcome in that early stage as you were getting yourself seasoned out in terms of experience and in your preparation to become an entrepreneur yourself?
Several, a long list, but so in this startup,
well, people like to hear that, Feras, because they're going through a long list themselves. It's good to hear how other people work their way through their things.
Absolutely, and those who are starting out now, there are a lot of resources. Podcasts like Larry's podcast is a resource. There are other challenges. There's a lot of distractions these days, but in our time, way back then, 20 plus years, we didn't have as many resources. But I can tell you one thing is, in whatever challenges you're facing, leverage your network. So I'll get to that later if we have time. But in terms of some of the challenges I faced, one is after I moved with the company and we had the Y2K, if you remember, the Y2K project. And then I moved on to a startup, and we had raised $96 million with that startup as it was an infrastructure telecom type startup. 2 years into it, this is after the tech bubble burst. We started to run out of money. The product was way ahead of its time, and I was laid off. I was a VP, Silicon Valley, amazing startup, but we just ran out of money. And then the company, a few months after that, it basically folded. So I found myself.
Wow! So the mothership folded too. It wasn't just that they laid you off; the whole mothership folded. Huh?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, there was a series of layoffs,
right?
And then I forgot this third round, and then there was the product was an amazing product. It just out of its time. We're trying to get internet through cable, where the phone companies were just trying to get the infrastructure in place. So anyhow, I was laid off, young family still. What do I do? Looking for jobs was very difficult at the time, and we hadn't recovered from the bubble burst in Silicon Valley. A friend of mine wanted to start a business. Talked to him. I had no other opportunity. So in a way, I always wanted to start my own business, but in a way, I was forced to it because if I had a job at the time, if I had a job offer, or if I was having success in interviews, I probably wouldn't have started the business. But that's what happened. I founded this business with my co-founder, and we started to sell what was pretty much cutting edge at the time. In 2003, it was website design. So that was just the first really challenging time for me personally and professionally, and for my family, is going from the highs of the highs, being a VP in a cutting edge tech company, to being out of work. But I always say, through these struggles, it's okay to feel sad, to feel down, to feel bad, to mourn for a couple of days. But at one point, you have to collect yourself and stand back up and go out at it. Don't take it too personally, although layoffs are really hard. I mean, even now, when I remember that moment when the CEO, John, when he walked in the door, I still remember this. And I think my heartbeat goes fast every time I remember this. So these are things that are very difficult on us when they happen, these layoffs. But you can't, it's okay to cry for a day, for a two. I do that. I cry. But then you got to go out and do something like, what is it that I could have done better? What are the opportunities? This is behind me. That doesn't define me. So that's one big lesson I think for entrepreneurs is you're going to face a lot of challenges, but you got to be resilient and you got to just stand up after you fall. And you can build that resilience muscle over time.
How old were you at this point?
Sorry.
How old?
Oh, that was 21 years ago. I was 38. If I got my math right.
38.
Yeah. Or 30.
So you were pretty settled.
Sorry, 30.
The employee the mindset of an employee that, you were an employee, you're a very good employee, you're a high level employee, but you're still an employee. And that's totally different than being an entrepreneur. And you had to learn that part too, right?
Oh, a huge adjustment, Larry. We used to go and pitch to the C-level at Cox, at AT&T. Like we were selling infrastructure systems platforms to the major telcos and cable companies. And now when you start a new business servicing small businesses, I'm knocking on the doors of restaurants, local restaurants. I'm knocking on the doors of local dentists. I'm knocking on the doors, anyone down the strip mall here to get them just to listen to me. So that adjustment in two main things. One is pitching to corporate Fortune 500 and then pitching small project. And the other thing is I never did pitch before. I never did sales before. I was working close to sales and marketing, but I never got into sales. So that was a huge mindset shift, is to learn a whole lot of things. And entrepreneurs at one point, you will be wearing all the hats, especially initially. Right. Even if you have funding, if you have money, you have to wear all the hats, learn not every aspect of the business to the smallest detail, but you have to learn all the aspects of the business so you can discern whether a candidate, your VP of sales, your VP of marketing, your project management, if you don't know your various business, aspects of the business, it's hard for you to, I think, build and grow that business. So I had to learn to adjust the market and the size of the companies we were selling to just learn to the smaller, SMB, and then also learn all the skills that are required to sell, basically, initially.
Thanks for listening to the $1 Million Mastermind. If you felt there were any valuable takeaways from this episode, please take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback is important and really helps us get the word out to a wider audience. Remember, we have a valuable webinar that is absolutely free. Register for it right now at weidelonwinning.com. Thanks for listening.